Good morning, guys. It's Naveen joining the call. Can you guys hear me? Could you please type in the chat window? Great. Thank you, Shubham. Thank you, Rahul. And we'll just give a moment here. Looks like some of them are still tuning in. Just adjust the screen here. And Rahul, if you're there, buddy, can you just go ahead and bring up your screen and things like that, please? Yeah,
yes,
can you
yes.
please? Thank you.
Yes, yes.
And give me one moment, Rahul. Okay, I'm back. So let's get started, and let me bring my screen here. Benefits of Docker. Okay. So what we'll do, Rahul, let's first get started with Docker, and then we'll jump on to a little bit of answer for today.
Okay, sir.
Great. Let me share my screen. Oops, one more time. Share it. Okay. So we've been talking a little bit about Docker, guys. We'll cover a little bit of theory, and then we'll jump on to a little bit of practice and things like that. And we'll see how we can simplify it, guys. Okay. So now, yeah, sorry, Rahul, today I will try to check in the slides and things like that. Bear with me, give me a little bit of time. I'm making some changes and things like that. Okay, buddy?
Okay, okay.
So at a high level, we started with Devops, guys, and just a quick review. Devops is the union of people, process, and products. In other words, more precisely, it is defined. It is kind of treated as a culture of how the people, process, and products needs to be worked with and dealt with for a better experience for everyone, guys. Not only the customers but also the people who are involved in the project is what is about at a slightly high level, guys. Then we have so most of the time what happens is there is a development team and they're making their own products. They're writing the code and things like that. And then by the time they ship it off to the operations take care of the deployment, monitoring, and maintenance. A lot of problems are coming up in the operations teams. So the involvement of development operations. So this is in the context of development and operations. That's why it's treated as DevOps. It's kind of a short and a sweet way of understanding the DevOps. And let's see. Most of the time, what was happening in the pre-DevOps world is everything was siloed. In other words, what the strategy team would be doing would be kept hidden from the design team to the transition team and other things. That was one of the problems that DevOps is able to handle and take care of, guys. Then we briefly talked about what is continuous delivery integration and agile development a little bit. We'll go into a little bit more details in the coming up days. Continuous delivery is it extends up to release, and continuous integration extends up to, let's say, the test and the agile development up to the build part of it is what we can quickly say. Then a little bit of theory. Okay, then we looked at something like this, where what this picture, this slide is telling us is, it is about a continuous improvement, whether it is development, whether it is testing, or build, packaging, and deployment. It's about continuous improvement in every stage is what is the main goal. As we continuously try to improve and evolve, we will be able to deliver the products with much more ease and with much more satisfaction, and everybody will be happy. That's what the thing is. So how do you improve it? Well, using feedback. Feedback is the mantra here. During every stage, whether it is a small change or a big change, if we are somehow able to analyze and understand if the changes we have made are good or if they have broken and things like that, then we can fix them right away. So continuous feedback can be thought of as a mantra base. Okay, so that is where the Docker comes into the picture. Most of the times we are running into scenarios where it works on one environment, doesn't work on another environment, or where it works on one cloud but it doesn't work on another cloud. So the fix or the solution is we need something which will work in all the environments or all the clouds and things like that. That's where the Docker comes. The Docker is like a ship. We refer it to as a container platform. In other words, Docker is used for creating the containers. It can be thought of as a group of containers. Containers can be thought of as a group of layers, which we'll try to understand slowly, guys. Okay. So that's where we say Docker is a container. There are many permutations and combinations of the software packages and databases that could be installed on the server, and they are running, and suddenly one fails, and by the time we fix it, others fail, and many other kind of problems will be done. So if we can somehow separate all these things into separate things, those things are referred as the Docker containers. Using containers, we are able to achieve that independency, and that's what we'll dig in deep and try to understand. So again, it is a tool designed to make it easier to deploy and run. So it is at the stage of the deployment Docker comes into the picture, and containers is going to be a big mantra that we'll be talking a lot in the coming up days. They allow developer to package an application with all the parts of it, such as libraries, dependencies, and anything else which is related to it, guys. Okay. The advantages, if it works on one, it will also work on the other environment, is what is the advantage of that. Okay. And let's see what we have here. So these are some of the main components that we'll try to understand starting today. Pardon me. Another slightly important concept to be kept in mind is the difference between the virtualization and the containerization. Virtualization is where we have a host OS, on top of it is a hypervisor, which is another software like VirtualBox, and individual virtual machines are installed on these hypervisors. They act like individual machines on top of a single machine. So as a result of that, there's a lot of load on the resources. It becomes slow and things like that. Containerization as an alternative is a much more evolved way of doing the same thing. The containers act like they are lightweight VMs. So they take less resources, and they are able to use, there is more reusability of the host operating system, and less lockup, more freedom, more. So many other advantages come up with the containerization concept, and that's something to be kept in mind. That's what we'll discuss in detail, guys. Okay. These are some of the main components of the Docker. We have a Docker file, Docker images. When we refer to Docker, it is really an image. Inside an image, there are a group of containers. We can also refer to an image as a group of layers. That's what we'll try to understand. Docker Hub is a place where all the professionals go and they design their custom Docker containers, the Docker containers, and they upload them, and all others can download them and start using them without really worrying about the installation and the dependencies of many other kinds of packages and things like that. So that will relieve them from many other additional dependency problems and things like that, guys. Okay, so I think that is where we were. So let's get started. Let me bring this up. Pardon me. Oops, okay. So the mantra is build app only once. An application inside a container can run on any system that has a Docker installed on it. So in other words, imagine Rahul is working on an application and he built an application. Now, if he directly ships, he ships the build. What can happen is he may have forgotten some packages or library, or maybe he has the complete package, but the packages or the other dependencies of the application are very tightly hooked up. In other words, they're dependent on the native or the host operating system that he worked on. So if his build is given to another person or department and they try to deploy it on other different kinds of a host or host operating system, then there are good chances that there might problems might creep up. To avoid that kind of scenario, generally we use Docker containers. And so in other words, Docker container is like it's just like a shipping container, and the Docker is the ship. We try to put our applications in separate containers. They're independent of each other. We can also try to have them communicate with each other and things like that. But more importantly, because as they're independent of each other, any problems which are the chance that we may face any problems with the containers are much more minimized as due to the containers, guys. Okay, so again, we'll go a little bit into that. There is no need to build and configure app multiple times on different platforms. In other words, if Rahul goes ahead and puts his application into a Docker container and he starts sharing it, maybe he can push it off to Docker registry, then everybody in the world can just directly pull that, download that, and start using it right away. They can start adding more stuff to that one and not worry about all the things that Rahul has already taken care of, guys. Okay, so remember, let's see. I'm just seeing if I can give you a mantra here, but let me give a thought, guys. Okay, I'll try to come back to you. So Docker container. So whether you're in a testing environment, a production environment, or a backup environment, or a staging environment, once we put our applications into containers, if the application runs successfully in one container, if the image in one container, then there is a good chance, or there is every chance that will also work in any other different kinds of environments where the Docker is installed and the containers are available. Yes, that is what is the objective of it. So more sleep and less worry. In other words, we don't have to unnecessarily worry about the dependency hell and things like that, which is a common problem in the world of deployment and things like that. With Docker, you test your application inside a container and ship it inside a container. So the container is like container. It's like I'm still trying to think of a simple mantra for that, but we'll call it as a shipping container with everything that the application needs has been plugged into that container. Yes. This means the environment in which you test is identical to the one on which the app will run in production. So in other words, again, you take the container, put that container on any other ship, there would be no problem. There you go, guys. Maybe, that's just a much more simple thing. Let me come back here and we'll just try to visualize this for a moment here. Let's say snap this one. Second. Okay. So let's choose this one. Let's choose this one. Let's choose this one. And let's say we'll get started. So here is the first ship. Inside the ship, we have, let's say we'll start with, what shall we say? How about this one? Here is a container. And inside that container, we have multiple, let's say, here is the application. And we'll say, here is the application. And that depends on many other things. Oops. Let's put this here. Okay, so real quick, what we have is this is like a ship, and this is a container. And we'll say, for the sake of simplicity, this is application. It depends on this one. Here we'll take only one thing. Imagine the ship. Let's say, come here. Choose this one. Just imagine another ship. The same scenario. You have the app here, and the dependency here. Or maybe the one scenario is you have given the app to them, but you forgot to give the dependency. It's like, you're a customer. You're expecting both of them together, but you only got one. Obviously, customer will be very unhappy. Okay, in other words, we can visualize. Oh, sorry about that. May stop the share. Share it again. Maybe I just ended up sharing the page. Sorry, guys. Can you see it now? Okay, sorry about that, guys. I think maybe I just ended up sharing the screen. So I'll go over one more time, guys. Take a look at this. I'll put this here. So one more time, think of the pink one as a ship. There is one container. The yellow box is the container. The blue one is the application, and it depends on a green box, which is dependency. In this ship, in the pink ship, we have everything packaged together. But imagine a scenario where somebody, a developer, was supposed to deliver an application, which is nothing but a product, and he should develop it. But later we realize, hey, the dependency, which is this box, is not there. What is that? That's a problem. What is that? That's a deployment problem. What's the problem? Well, the customer is happy, and that will lead to a lot of tough situations, guys. Okay, so imagine another scenario where you have not only given the blue box, but you also have given the green box, and they're kept separately rather than. In other words, the blue depends on the green is what it is, whereas say it was not given on the total. What is that? That's another problem. So what do you do? Well, that's exactly what a container is. In a container, when you put your thing in a container, what you're doing is you're putting all these things in the way you want. What are all the dependencies which are needed are plugged in here. So when you actually put it into a different environment, so let's say put that back here. When you take that and put that in a different environment, what happens is the exact everything which is inside the container is exactly coming in the same way. So if you put that container, take that container, put that in another ship, there is no change within the container. So what worked here in this ship or environment, to be more precise, will also work in this environment. Is one way to visualize in a slightly friendly way. That's kind of a slightly friendly mantra, if you will, for the moment. Are you catching it, Rahul, Surabhi? Are you catching that, guys? So kind of the container itself is acting like a mini environment. If it works inside that, inside this mini environment, you take this mini environment and put that into a big environment. As long as it works in mini environment, it is really not much dependent on the outside environment, and there's a good chances it will work. That is one of the main advantages of the Docker images and the containers, guys. Okay, so Docker container can run on any platform. It can run on local system, Amazon, Google, Rackspace, and so on. A container running on AWS can be easily be ported to VirtualBox. So containers are like, for now the mantra is a lightweight VM. As long as it works on the VM, it will work on anywhere where it is installable. And Docker is platform independent, so it should be able to work on anywhere, guys. Okay, like Git, Docker has built-in version control system. So Docker itself provides the built-in version system. Version control system will also try to have a look at that in a bit. Docker containers work just like Git repositories, following you to commit the changes to your Docker images and version control them. In other words, what really happens, what we're trying to convey is slightly deeper. I'll try to give you a slightly high level picture. And once we do a little bit of labs, you'll get a much better picture. It's generally, here is a Docker image. And inside the Docker image, there can be many containers. So let's say container 1, and let's say here is container 2. For sake of simplicity, you visualize 2 containers. What are these containers? Internally, each container is not modifiable. So each container, we will say, is actually, for the sake of simplicity, let's choose that one. Let's choose this one. So it's a layer. Not that one. Let's use this one. So here is layer 1. And visualize here is another layer 2. Now, ideally, an image behind the scenes, an image, okay? So we'll call this one as an image. The pink box is an image. It can contain one or more containers. I think somebody was asking, can the containers communicate with each other? That's a slightly deep one. The short answer is possible, but right now, I will not worry about explaining, but since I just recalled, I'm bringing it up here. Short and sweet, we should be able to container, but generally what happens, guys, when we have a container which has been already provided, when you try to modify this container, what happens, or what Docker, what the container does is, ideally, kind of, it will increase. Another layer is added. Another layer is added at a container level, or maybe let's visualize it like this. Another layer is added, and now visualize as if that layer is part of that container. So at any point, so any data that we might be adding will be sitting here in the additional layer. Now, what is happening? The container acts, the Docker makes this whole thing look like one container. These are the additional changes that we have done. This is the original container. So at any point of time, if you want to undo this one, you take out that, Docker will take out that, Docker will take out that, will take out that. So you have the base always intact, not modified and things like that. That's a slightly deep one, but unless we do something, you will take a little bit of time, and I will try to slowly take you there, guys. But that's just a first look at how the Docker container, the image is a group of containers. I mean, a container can be thought of as a group of layers, guys. Okay, Docker containers. Okay, and so what it is doing is the blue box is going to be version 1, and let's say for the sake of simplicity, this is going to be version 2. So if you want, if the version 2 doesn't work, we can go back to version 1. Is another way also to think of it and visualize, guys. Okay, Rahul and Subi. Okay, guys, can I go move on to the next slide? Okay, so there is a host operating system, the bare metal on top of it, whatever the operating system is referred as a host. On top of it, Docker engine is sitting like a ship, and inside the ship there are a lot of containers, and each container can contain one or more applications, one or more softwares, databases, other kinds of databases, and packages and things like that, guys. Okay, so it is again for now the mantra. Yeah, gentlemen, ladies, an important mantra I want you to keep in mind is a container is lightweight VM, is what I want you to keep in mind. And there's a very good advantage of that, guys. Every app works on in its own container and does not interfere with their other apps. So in the container, you can contain one app or multiple apps based on what your business or what your needs and requirements are. If you only put one app in your container, it will not be disturbed or messed up by the other containers. And that is what the Docker is taking care of, guys. Okay. So isolation with Docker, every application works in isolation in its own container and does not interfere with the applications running on the same system. In other words, again, each container does not mess with the other container is what it is, guys. Okay. So multiple containers can run on any system without interference. Again, the same thing. For removal, also, you can simply delete the container. It will not leave behind any files or traces on the system. So as I shown you, the pink box, if we were to add some data, it can store them separately in another layer. And if we have to ever roll back to the original, we can just delete these files and roll back to the original version without much of a hassle. Okay. Productivity, Docker allows faster and more efficient deployments without worrying about running your app to different platforms. In other words, different environments, different clouds and things like that. We're just able to set up the Docker and have the containers run on them. It increases the productivity many folds. In other words, it is indirectly. This concept is fixing many of the problems that were being faced between the development and the operations. But it has its own learning curve and things like that, and a few scenarios that we need to be familiar is what it is, guys. Okay. Okay. So before we move on to Kubernetes, that's I'm still making some changes. Let me just put this on the drive here. Give me one moment. I'm going to pause this one. Let's say from here to here, delete this, save file. There are a few more slides I will add in the coming up days, guys. Let's say, let's call this as true. Part 1. Okay. Save it. I'm going to upload this to the drive. Save it. Bring me up the drive. Let's see. Still have it. NSCIT. Part 1. Yeah, let's say zoom the share. Let's say new file upload. Pardon me. And see those system. There is the part 1. Okay, that's just for a quick look and a quick review. And now we'll get on to a little bit of practicals. Rahul, can you go ahead and share your screen, buddy? We'll continue from you.
Yeah.
Let's see where we'll start here. Here's Docker scripts. And yesterday we looked at Docker home, Docker version. Okay.
So now that script is working. We need to type only yes whenever it was waiting.
You need to type yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, acha. So after each run, it was waiting for.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
This is only first time. When we run second time, it is not asking for a yes.
Oh, okay. And then you also ran this one Ansible thing after this.
No, sir.
EC2. So -I EC2, and you're giving the group EC2. Okay. Let's quickly check this out, guys. Thank you, Rahul. I appreciate that. Good job. And we have a couple of other scenarios also we need to take care of that we'll discuss later today. Just for the sake of discipline, can you run it one more time? What you ran yesterday, just manually.
Yeah.
Oh, acha. You said no, it doesn't really require, right?
Yeah, we only need to enter yes first.
Okay. And let's say prod backup, yeah. And you're running Ansible. That's nice. -I, you give the inventory, that is dynamic inventory. EC2.5 will end up being giving the dynamic inventory. EC2 is loop inside it, and you're doing a thing. Okay. Let's give it a moment. So I believe we're just testing the connectivity, checking the connectivity is what we're doing here, Rahul.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't need to worry about what is happening inside the EC2.5 that was actually provided by the Ansible guys. But
Yeah.
We got,
Now it is working.
Very good. We got one unreachable, right?
Yeah.
What's the message it says? ANS admin. Permission denied. Permission denied. Okay. So, okay. I think we created a server without any private and public key. Also,
Maybe it is trying to SSH to itself.
Yeah. I understand. I think I have an idea why it's giving the permission denied. We'll try to fix that today. But before we move on to that, I think we'll go on to the Docker.
Okay.
Execute a few commands and then we'll go on to that one.
Okay.
And so, give me one moment, Rahul.
Yeah.
admin, your admin. We need to be admin. Let's see, I think we installed Docker as a root. Why don't you say sudo su hyphen? Oops, what is this one? This is the Docker scripts. Docker B, system CTL. Okay, we're back to root, and let's say start with what should we say? System CTL status Docker. Make sure one more time. Docker is up and running. Active and running, so that's a good sign. And then I think we added a user. We added a group called Docker, if you recall. Just do a grep Docker, grep space Docker space etc/group. Okay, so the last one is the Docker and Docker 2. Okay, I already added Docker, but the Docker 2 is the one I just showed you yesterday, just to get a feel, if you recall, Rahul.
Yeah.
Okay, then the next one, let's say sudo user mod -a small a and capital G as one word. User mod, not more, is the mod.
That's no.
Remove the E. MOD space -AG. A small G is capital, G for God. A small G is capital. And Docker space $user. Docker space the environment variable $user. All caps. Yeah. So I think elevate. So ideally what this is doing is this is elevating current user permissions to root. Permissions to root is what it is doing. And let's say. So now repeat the grep command, grep docker etc2. Just bring up that command one more time. So if you notice, Docker has the root here.
Yeah.
Okay. All the permissions with Ubuntu and the root is what it is. And
Yes.
okay, then one more time, just I think we'll verify Docker. System CTL state is Docker. Active and running. Okay, so far so good. Then let's say we'll stop the Docker system sudo system CTL or you can say system CTL stop Docker. Then verify one more time. And it's inactive. Okay, good. And so in other words, now we'll say, just for sake of discipline, also type in the command ps space -ef. So I'll send you the command. This is process status. So here is process status -ef and grep for Docker. I sent you the command. Pardon me. Wow, okay, Docker. So let's say I thought it was somewhere, it'll say it is dead somewhere. Okay. So this is PS stands for process status, is what it is. So go ahead and start the Docker.
Yeah, ठीक है.
Okay, so we ran it, and now let's say, since for sake of discipline, just you're now root, right?
Yeah.
And just exit root. And now we are back to ANS-admin. So one more time, check the status of Docker. Let's see if ANS-admin is able to check it.
Should I run this command?
Systemctl status. Yeah.
Okay.
Check that. Now what we'll do is we'll say docker run -- name. Docker space run space -- name. It's all small. -- name space hello space hello - world. For now hello, now space hello - world.
Hello. Hyphen.
No. Hello with a small h. So let me send you this command. You can come out of that one. Make it easy for you. So I copy this one, sending it on the chat window. There you go. Still doing.
Should I use sudo in this one?
Docker run. Oh, permission. Yeah, try sudo. Actually, I meant to run it from root, but we'll just use sudo there. Get back in as root. Hello is already used by the container. Oh, okay, it's running. It's just saying it's already used by the container. Just give a name hello to instead of hello. Run it. Also, the container hello to is also used. You have to remove or rename the container. Say Docker space images. Okay. Just sudo. So we have stop Ubuntu BusyBox. Okay, we already have it. I think we already tested that. Let's do one thing. Since we already tested here, do one thing, Rahul. Get back to node 1, please, and from you can use this one from here only. Get into node 1 and try to first on that one using that script that we ran yesterday. You will do it on node 1 because everything is set up here except Docker. Okay. Answer. And just see if Docker is installed. Just type in Docker. Okay. So to install Docker here, just create a VI install underscore docker.sh and go back and get that from the drive and run it. You already have it. Okay. You can save it and run it.
This script only can run from the sudo user, root user. That's
Pardon me?
this. I have logged in as a root for running this script.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
not allowed.
True. Yeah, that's right. That's a good one. I think you put that in answer then, right?
Yeah.
Or okay, just give the path here. Okay, it's up to you.
Should I create?
You don't need to create. You can give that path directly and run it, right? Under
Okay.
/ install docker as such.
Is this correct?
Yeah, you can directly execute it. Make sure it is there. No, remove the dot in the beginning. Dot means it will refer to the current directory. Okay. So we are installing Docker brand new.
Yeah, it is done.
Sorry about that, Rahul. My network got disconnected, and by the time I took, I had to come through another network. So sorry about that, buddy. And can you make me the host, Rahul?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you, you're done with installing the Docker, right?
Yeah, just running now.
Okay, just to verify systemctl status Docker. Active and running, okay. And then, okay, Docker version is okay. Then I think what we will do is we'll go ahead and add a user called Docker here. So let's say sudo group add Docker. Group add Docker. Verify. It's already there.
Already.
How come it is? Oh, I think our script might have. Is it our script which added the Docker? Can you just do the cat on that? Let me just verify that. Cat the script.
Created one. Okay.
Group Docker already exists.
Maybe when we install Docker, it create one Docker user.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you have you done a cat? Okay. System status Docker and scroll up a little bit. So this is where we install Docker. Cache and install. Okay, so I think it's C community edition. Maybe at the time of installing, it's automatically installing Docker and adding the user and the group. Probably is what I'm thinking, Rahul.
Yeah.
So let's say a sudo user mod that might also. Oh no, we may need to elevate the permissions. Sudo just grep Docker etc group one more time, so that we can change the notice change etc group. Okay, xn998. Okay, now let's say sudo user mod -ag.
So user mod.
-a small a capital G, which is group, space Docker, space $user. Okay. Then verify etc group again. Okay, so we have given the elevated root permissions for Docker group, and let's say then just for sake of discipline, we'll stop it and start it again. Oops. You stopped it and you need to start it. Okay, good. Active and running. Okay, now let's go ahead and run the Docker run. Let me send it to you. I think I earlier sent it to you, right? Hello world. Copy that and paste that in the chat window.
Yeah.
Okay, so now if you scroll up a little bit, so where you have said Docker run hello world, it says unable to find hello world latest locally. So in other words, it is trying to locate an image called hello world. It is not able to find it. So what it has done is the pulling. So if you highlight pulling from library, hello world means it is actually pulling it from the hub.docker.com, and that is nothing but downloading it. Once it downloaded the newer image, then it says hello from Docker. So this is like a hello world. It downloaded the image, then it is running the image or the container in the image to be more precise, and that is what is hello from the Docker. This message shows your installation. So to generate this message, Docker has taken the following steps. Docker client contacted the Docker daemon. So internally, the Docker, whatever we installed has worked with the Docker background process, and Docker, the background process downloaded the hello world. And it created a new container for that image which runs the executable and stream that output. So what is the output that we are seeing hello from Docker up to here is nothing but the message that it is printing. It is coming out of the container and out of that image. Okay.
Yeah.
You can run Ubuntu container. We'll try to do those things. This is the additional output it is giving. But let's say Docker run -it Ubuntu bash. Docker run. Now, yeah, you can copy that. Okay, so now again, it didn't find the image locally, so it's downloading the image. And let's say, pull the image, there is the digest, bash. So now, if you notice, notice the root has @8b. Just type in who am I? And it says root, but @8b is acting like a IP address. What is that? That is, the image is acting like a lightweight VM. It's like a lightweight machine. So that is acting like an IP address for the sake of understanding. So this root is a root in Ubuntu. Catching it now. This root is
in
not
Ubuntu container, right?
in the Ubuntu container. Yes, that's true. So when we have done Docker run IT means interactive. Ubuntu or bash means Ubuntu is the image it downloaded. Inside that image, there is a container, a Ubuntu container. Inside that container, it brought up the bash. Is what. Okay, so let's see if we can play around. We're in Ubuntu and we did who am I? Type in Docker space container space ls. ls container space ls. Okay, so can you take a guess why we are getting Docker container command not found?
Because we are in the inside the Docker container, Ubuntu container Docker, and there is no Docker installed.
Very good. So we are on the AWS server where we have installed the Docker on the AWS server.
Yeah.
So Docker is there on the AWS server. Inside that, we brought up a Ubuntu. Docker is not there in the Ubuntu. As simple as that.
Yeah.
So exit out of this. Exit out of the Ubuntu. And now we are back on AWS server. Now say Docker container ls. Okay, it doesn't show anything, but say ls-a. Show all the files. So if you now notice Ubuntu and hello world, these are the two things. And it says it created 2 minutes ago, 4 minutes ago. That's when it was downloaded and created. It exited, we came out of that one. We are not in the containers anymore. On the left-hand side, if you say, if you look container ID, it says AB, it's like a, like a GUID is what it is. So that is referred as a container ID. And so in other words, ls-a is listing all the containers is what it is. Huh? So what we'll do, we'll see how to start a container. Say Docker container start. And select the top one Ubuntu, the container ID of the Ubuntu. And say -AI. Space -AI. Enter. So AI means attach interactively. And let's see. Unknown shorthand flag -AI. Docker container start is missing.
Sorry.
Thank you, Shisha. Okay, so again, we're in the container. And now just do who am I followed by ls. Who am I? Next. Oh, no. In the next one. Okay, your root and ls. So it gives you a total list of different files and things like that, which are in the Ubuntu container.
Yeah.
And let's say, okay, now we are in the container. So what we can do is if we exit out of this container, the container will be stopped. There is a way we can keep this container running and then we can exit. Try Control P, Control Q. Control P for Peter, Q for Queen.
Control P.
Control P, Control Q.
Control T.
P for Peter, P for Punjab.
Okay. Control P, it is not showing anything.
Okay, so let's say I think that would be on Windows. So we need to.
It is showing previous commands. Who am I?
Gotcha. When you run that, right? So let's say I think I tested that on Windows. Being control. So say Docker stop start. Let's say wait upgrade. Scroll a little bit. Let me see if there's any command here. I'm looking for something like quit here, not kill. So attach commit diff kill. Exit will stop it and go out of that. Unpause all processes or containers. Wait block 1. Not anything directly, but just type in Docker. We are inside the container, right? What I want to do is I want to get out of the container and I want the container to be running. Okay.
Should I exit?
Okay, exit once. I think that will actually stop it. But exit. And if you say Docker container, yeah, I think I know what we can do. Okay, let's complete this one. Space ls and space -a. So now notice exited. It says exited. Now what you do is one more time get into the container. We'll open another terminal so that we don't have to come out of it. So now we are in the container.
Yeah.
And now open a new terminal. New git bash terminal. So the container is running and get into this IP. I think, yeah, the IP address is node 1, right? Yeah. Okay, get back into the root here. Or
Yeah.
what we'll do is, I want to be more in the blue. Put the black terminal on the right hand side, and on the left hand side, here I want you to get into the container. In the black one, I want you to get into the container. I like more background. So you exit out of that one. In the blue one, you exit the container. You get into the container here. You exit the container. Now copy that command and exit it here. Execute it here.
Yeah.
And make sure your root. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and in the blue one, say Docker container ls. Enter. And up 14 seconds. So we have not exited it. It's still up and running, catching it.
Yeah.
So, so if somebody is actually into that application, they're using it and they're running it. We'll try to keep it like that.
Yeah.
So now let's see. Say Docker container ls space hyphen filter. Instead of hyphen a, take out that hyphen a, hyphen filter, space status equals to running. Status equals to running. Yeah. Run it. And there's one Ubuntu which is running. Next, also try exited. Change, bring up the same thing, change running to exited. So hello is exited. Let's see, for the sake of discipline, we'll try 2 or more. Also try paused and dead. Next one is paused, PAUSED. Nothing is there. Dead, try dead. That is, I think, 4th skill, I think. DEAD. That should be good enough. And we don't have anything. Okay, as simple as that. Okay. So in other words, most of the time you're checking if any of the containers are running rather than any other options. So just to be kept in mind. So now, if you want to look more into it, just say Docker container hyphen help. Hyphen help. And let's see, there it is. Attach, commit, CP, diff, and things like that. We'll try to check out a few of them, few of the most important things which will be useful for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you can also say Docker container run hyphen help. Most of the times we use run, Docker container run hyphen help. Okay. And let's see. These are all the possible things, network and so on. Again, we don't need to remember all these things, but quick idea. On a need-to basis, we just read them, look at them, and try to use them. And that should be more than enough, okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, next one, the slightly long one. Let me send it to you. I'm going to copy this one, put this in the chat window. Try running this one, pasting it. Okay. So Docker container run -d. So let's say we'll -d is deleting the container, removing the container, and ti will okay. Currently to the container. This was so. Let's say d is deleting when it will exit it. Ti is going to be this user bin top. So if you just say type in top, should give you a list of processes which are running, which is nothing but the background process and things like that. Do a quit. Okay, so now say Docker container ls. This is good. So now if you notice up about a minute, the status is that is the one we just created. What is happening is we are not attached to that container. It is running. Yeah. For Ubuntu, just for sake of discipline, we open another terminal, we log in there and we are running there. Whereas this one, when you give a -d and a -ti, what it has done is it is running in the background and we can see it right away. Just do ls, don't do an ls -a. And I'll explain you that one in a moment. Just do ls, Docker container ls. Okay, so the top one is the top bin. Now just bring up that upper command, the previous command, the ti. One more. Oh, okay. So now what is top demo? Top demo is the name we have given to this container. Ubuntu is the image / container, and the user bin top is nothing but the background process which we have set to run in the Ubuntu. So in other words, it started a Ubuntu image and it's running there, inside that one, inside that container.
Yeah, it is running this top command inside that container.
And -b, do you remember what does -b do?
Yeah, it is running as a root.
Good one. So now what we'll do, this is, we have run it, but we have not attached it. We can also attach to it. So for that, you say Docker container attach top demo.
Docker container. Attach. Should I keep run or remove?
Take out everything else, only top demo. So when you say attach, you're going into that container. Remove the rest of it. The right hand side also remove it. Okay, so now we're inside the container and what we are doing is the top process. Catch me?
Yeah.
Getting a feel of it, Rahul?
What is this attach command?
Attaches, it took you into the container.
Okay.
Earlier, we ran it in the back. We did not get into the container. It was some user was using, but now you're getting into that user's that program inside, and now it is getting top, showing the top processes and things like that. Right?
Yeah.
Good. Quit out of it now. Now just say Q.
Nothing happening.
It's not allowing you because the top is continuously running. So let's say Control C. Okay, it put us out. Now again, just type in Docker space container space ls without a hyphen A. So we have only, so which means again, we did, since we did a Control C, it exited out, and when it exits out, it kills it.
Yes.
Catching?
Yes.
And so if you're taking a look at the key, do an ls hyphen A. No, I'm sorry, Docker container LSA. So there is something called keen underscore yellow on the names on the right hand side. That is for the bash command and Ubuntu image. And then there are some, you'll see some interesting names here. Keen yellow, hello and top demo is the names we have given. Something to be kept in mind is if we don't give any name to an image or a container at the time you're running, the Docker is automatically assigning some names to it. These are some, I think maybe Greek philosophical names or something like that. So it is something to be kept in mind. Okay, buddy?
Yeah. Okay.
The ports is nothing but the ports in case we, when we write a Docker and we prepare the Docker file, sometimes we explicitly give the ports and where we need certain things to be done. That is what the ports is status, created is created, command is command. Image is again a group of containers. That is the ship, container is the container. Container ID is container. Command is, whether we are in a bash shell, when somebody created that image, they may wanted somebody to get into the bash directly without worrying about anything else. Or maybe they want to get into Python. So the moment the container, the container starts, it will trigger a few commands. Those are specified in the doc file. We'll try to understand that. Catching it, Rahul?
Yes.
It's a slightly deep one. I will understand that step by step. So now one more time, just for the sake of simplicity, say Docker container start top demo. Container space start. We are explicitly starting this one. Start space top demo. And you started.
Yeah, it is running.
Okay, so we did not attach it here. We're not attached. Catching it? Now stop it.
Yes.
This is stop. Check again. Okay, so it is gone.
Yes.
Very good. Now let's say restart. Ls. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we are doing till now is these are the containers which have been already created. We have just downloaded them. Docker downloaded them for us, and we are using them. But sometimes, not sometimes, many times, we want to create the containers. We want to create a new image and things like that. Okay, so what do we do in such a case? We can create it. So let's say Docker container create. Maybe this is a long one. Let me send this to you. easy. Paste it, run it. So try running this one. And yeah, so it gives us some long ID. So now say docker container ls -a space -a. So let's see what we have here. So we just created a container manually, and does it say it is running? It is not running. The status is created. That is to be kept in mind. We are not yet run. So here, if you look at that command, it says Ubuntu bash. Ubuntu is the name of the image. Now, Ubuntu, the image is like a ship. Inside a ship, there can be multiple containers. Inside each container, what can you do? Imagine a container is like a rack of servers, where in each rack, there are a group of servers, and each server is sitting on top of it. What is each server? Each server is like an application. And that application may have other dependencies and things like that and so on. So inside a container is like a rack, or we are calling a rack as a container, and each server is multiple. Each server is one application. So why I'm explaining that is, when we say create, visualize for a moment a rack which has, let's say, 3 servers inside it. Are you with me, Rahul?
Yes.
When you create a container, you're taking this rack of 3 servers. I imagine you're plugging in a 4th server into that one. So this rack has 3. You're not modifying the 3. You are adding another layer to it. When you create it, we add internally, Docker is getting ready to add another layer to it. It is not modifying any of the things.
Yes.
And let's say, so now what we'll do is, we have added, it is getting ready to, we have added a server, but what we need to do is, this container along with that layer is not saved. Is kind of what is the idea. We need to save it explicitly. That's where the volumes come in. What is a volume? Again, we'll try to understand that in a bit, but let's say now that we have created, let's start it. So we'll say Docker container start. Docker container start. So first step is you create, second step is you start it, -a, -i. And what was the name of that? new_bash. I can say ls. And 7 seconds ago, there's new bash. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, now what we'll do, we are in interactive mode. So what I want to do is, we started it. Now let's say Docker container kill new_bash. Or instead of new_bash, kill the top demo. No, not new bash, top demo.
Yeah.
Verify this, verify the ls again after that.
Yeah.
So now say Docker container rm top demo.
Top demo.
I think we should have done. Okay. Then say Docker images. See. So we have Ubuntu and Hello World images. Hello World is one we have downloaded. Ubuntu is one. It looks like we are running that one. These are the 2 things. Let's say Docker images space docker.io/Ubuntu. docker.io/Ubuntu. One word, yeah. So it doesn't show anything. And let's say instead of docker dot, bring up the same command, remove the docker.io and just say Ubuntu. So there is just listing the Ubuntu image. I think if there were any other additional images starting with the UB, I think it would have listed is what I think I'm trying to make a point here. Okay. And then do we have the container ID? Okay, let's see, there is the image ID. They say Docker history, copy that image ID. History space, copy that image ID. Okay, so what are these? These are the layers. Initially, 13 years ago, whoever created this image, they created with a bare shell, which is the minimal shell, minimum bound shell, bin as such. Then, so at that time, initially it was 0 bytes. They added another program onto it, add file and things like that. That is 72.MB. That is probably the minimal stuff which comes with Ubuntu and things like that. So what are these two? These are the two layers inside that image.
Yeah.
You can also say image is a group of layers, just like we say image is a group of containers. And every time when we can add more, we can delete more, we can modify. We generally don't modify any of the existing ones, but if you really want to modify, you add your own layer and you try to modify, you play around. That is generally the process and things like that. Are you catching the point?
Yes.
Okay. We'll also
Yes.
try to do some stuff and convince ourselves with that. And okay. One more time, let's bring up the top demo. Bring up the big command, run dti name top demo. No, further up. I think it's
This is the command?
It's the last second one that I sent you in the chat window.
Yeah.
Okay, container ls. Do you need a 5-minute break, Rahul?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a short break and we'll regroup in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Let me know if you're back, Rahul.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can exit out of this one, Rahul, the black terminal. Okay. And let's say I think we started with Ubuntu demo Ubuntu. So
Yes.
have we listed it? Yeah, we listed it. And ls, okay. Up 11 seconds, okay. Next, say container, Docker container logs, stop demo. So what this is it is streaming the log file, whatever is happening regarding about that particular container which is running.
Yeah.
Tasks are running and things like that. It is continuously streaming it to the standard output.
Yes.
Okay, and let's see. Yeah, try. Okay, you could rid of that. Let's say container inspect top demo. So we're kind of administering. So we're looking into some of the administration aspect. Instead of log, say inspect INS. So it gives us the JSON output, and this is nothing but the metadata information. So whatever makes sense, you try to just have a look at that, and let's say scroll up, keep scrolling up. Let's see if there's more information. Okay, short and sweet. The JSON when it was created, what is the status? We can probably plug it into a file and probably maybe plug it into a grep and look for specific things if we are interested. And here and there we can use them in debugging and things like that is what it is, but just giving you an idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see now. If you look at graph driver network settings, right? Let's say. Okay, how about this one? Let's say type in. I'll send this to you. We'll look for a variable here. If you recall, say. Here we go. Try running it. Inspect dot config dot demo. So it's giving us a path and things like that. This is nothing but the variable config environment is variable.
Yeah.
In that one, but let's say change that env to image. So it's the giving us a Ubuntu image. Let's say inside the variable, instead of .config, just type in range. Remove the .config .image and just put in range. One moment, I'll come to it. So range is not defined. So let's say try range dot. 1 second. Remove the, you just have the range, right? Range and top demo. With a smaller.
Yeah.
Inspect of range, top demo, one missing value for range. Okay. Try range dot network settings with the capital N and the capital S. Range dot network settings, one word, capital N and a capital S. Dot. Just make a quick note of it. Settings. Template parsing error unexpected end of file. Settings, buddy.
Yes.
Network settings is also not there. How about try network setting, range.network settings.network, networks. Just also make note of it. See if it's extracting it. Network settings, what did you do? Network settings.networks.
Network settings of network.
Capital N. Okay, just come back here. Give me 1 minute. Can you try this one, please? Okay, so in other words, we are getting the IP address, it extracted the IP address. Instead of IP address, just put MAC address with a capital M and a capital A. Instead of IP, put a MAC address, capital M, small AC. Sorry, MAC, only capital M, small AC. Yeah, not right. So that is giving us a MAC address. So now, if you scroll up a little bit, notice the MAC address there, and notice IP address there, and notice networks there.
Yeah.
It is networks. If you scroll up, network settings, catching it?
Yeah.
That's how we're able to access the data, and more precisely, we are accessing the keys and the keys and the keys and trying to get the final value. Many times, what you may have to specifically look for a particular endpoint, or maybe some of these keys and things like that. You need to walk through this manually. You inspect a container, and based on ideally, what will happen is you may be in a scenario where somebody is on a Azure or maybe an AWS, and they say, "Hey, I have this endpoint ID not working," and they'll give you this long ID, and you don't know what it is. So what you will do is you can imagine you have an idea, oh, it's probably this container. You inspect that container, you can do a grep for it and try to extract. And you try to understand, okay, this container, because you may have tens and hundreds of containers which are running. And what will happen is once we extract this, we try to understand based on this one, hey, this is the container probably related to this application. So you may have to notify that particular team saying that, hey, there is some guy, he reported that this, they will tell you this endpoint ID is problem. You will go back and you can give the information that this container belongs to you or your group of applications. So you have to look into it, and things like that is what you may be saying. Catching it? Or in other words, maybe if somebody you're in a discussion with somebody, and what is happening is they are discussing about different kinds of endpoint IDs and things like that, and you're getting confused. You can quickly come and inspect a container ID and look and see, try to make sense of their what they're talking and things like that. That is also what you can keep in mind. Okay, buddy? Okay. Let's say Docker container stat stop demo. Stats, but STATS. Space stop demo. Okay, so this is giving the CPU percentage memory usage of that particular container ID, how much CPU is using, how much memory it is using, and things like that. Catching it?
Yes.
Okay, quit out of that, exit that. Okay, then let's say next one. This is a slightly big one. Let me give it to you. Run this one. Okay, run this one. So in other words, we are in the Ubuntu image in the, it has a Ubuntu container, or we'll say we are in the Ubuntu container. The name we have given is test Ubuntu. LS container, no, here LS will not work. So we are inside that container that is directly running a bash shell. The container, when you bring up, it is automatically running the bash shell. How it is run, we'll try to understand that when we go over one simple project, maybe today or maybe tomorrow. How that is run, we'll try to understand. Now, what you do is you just run apt get update. Just run apt-get update. Apt get update.
Yeah, and it got stuck. Like, I'm not able to do anything.
Okay, I'll give it a moment here. apt hyphen, sorry. Yeah. So now inside that image, we're doing an apt get update. We're getting the latest of the package related stuff and things like that is what it is.
Yeah.
And we'll also run apt get install -y htop. apt get, instead of update, say install -y space htop. Htop, try enter. So it's going ahead and installing the thing. So now we are still in the Ubuntu container. Go back to the black terminal. Now just do container ls. Okay, we are probably on the top one. The container ready that we are running is that one. Now let's say what we'll do, since that container is running, try to copy the container ID and we'll commit this one. So in other words, since we added something, I'll send this to you. And let's say, let me get rid of the container ID here. Container ID space and enter. Okay, now copy that one and don't run it. Where I have cont ID, con ID, remove that and put the container ID. BA8BA.
On site.
So I sent you the command, copy and paste it first. Don't run it in the black terminal. You're waiting up.
Yeah.
Is your network slow, Rahul?
No, if I copy on this terminal, it will automatically get it. So I'm editing on the.
Oh.
Yeah, I have added this ID. Should I run it now?
Have you pasted it? Paste it, I edited it, and container, I think something is missing here. You have BA8BA space htop demo. Space htop demo. Wait.
Yeah, it is there. It is there.
Sorry, I'm not able to see your complete thing
Yeah.
here. So there you go. Htop, what is the BA there? Remove that. And in the last, I think you added BA, htop demo B. Now run it. So now what is happening is it created a new image with when we said apt get update and apt get install, those are the new changes that we have made to the original image. And oops, pardon me. 1 moment, sorry. Sorry about that. So we are creating a new image. Whatever we are adding is not getting added to the original container, but new layers are getting created is what I'm trying to kind of convey here, Rahul, as simple as that, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and here the command htop, what is that hyphen change command htop is when we are telling the Docker, when somebody starts this container, start with that command htop. This is a command line of way of saying it. This is just for the sake of understanding, but generally we use a Docker file to specify all these configurations. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Now here comes a slightly deep one.
So what is this hyphen?
Hyphen. I don't remember the definition. Just do a help on that, please. Maybe you need to do Docker container commit help. I know that CMD will by default run container. Sorry, commit hyphen help. And let's see, change list. Change list. So this is commit is actually creating it, and it's creating a new image with a new layer. And when somebody that command is being done, so that hyphen C is just indicating that this is a change which is going into that image. So it is internally not modifying it, but adding another on top of it. Okay. Okay. So, okay, next one is slightly deep one. What I'll do is I'll save that for tomorrow. The next 2-3 sessions, I'll probably get you slightly more familiar with the Docker and things like that, and we'll move on to slightly more advanced stuff. Okay?
Okay.
Sounds good. Everybody else doing okay there, guys? Can you give me a quick yes, please? Shraddha, Humera, Nitish, are you guys doing? Are you able to follow Rahul here? Thank you, Shisha, Shraddha. Okay, so we'll switch back to a little bit of Ansible and things like that. Ansible will come to your rescue a lot, is my thinking, guys, rather than the other stuff and so on. So let me see where we are. Are you logged in as Ansible? Back to Ansible? Go to the blue screen and do it there. Blue for some reason is much more pleasant. I don't know, just. Let's see where we were yesterday. SU admin, okay. Dash. History, please.
We are on this worker node.
EC2.py, right?
Yeah.
EC2.py. You were running the dynamic inventory.
Yeah, but I have ran that script on this controller now. This is a worker.
This is not. Get back into controller. Good that you remember, please. Thank you. Otherwise, there would have been some confusion.
Yeah.
We should take 27. I think it exit this one also. It's something like 238. I think, Rahul.
Yeah. Sir.
You can double check that if you'd like to. Yeah. Okay, cool. And we were running the EC2.py. So just run it one more time for sake of discipline. Run it straight away. No, not that one. Just run ec2.py, /ec2.py.
Okay.
Make sure that file is there and run it. And give me 1 minute, Rahul.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. What is UST East 1C, 1 type 2 micro and things like that?
These are the properties of the resources which we have in the account, like region or type of instance and all.
A good answer. More precisely, these are nothing but the groups.
Okay.
Anybody? So in our host file, we create generally groups, right? Web group, web server group, or DB group, and things. These are going to be acting like the groups. So when we run it, what we are getting is this whole list is coming in as a JSON object. And if we specify EC2, then what will happen is
Yeah.
it will list of all these IP addresses dynamically. So instead of
Yeah.
going host file and it's picking up, it is picking up dynamically here. Whether you have 10, 100 or 1000, they're already picked up. Catching it, buddy?
Yeah.
1 second. Sorry about the trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. So what did we do? We have just run this one dynamically. Now go ahead and do an Ansible inventory, Ansible IEC2.py. Ansible -i EC2.py. And on the right hand side, give the group EC2. and -m ping. Let's see if it works. Oh, sorry, -m, buddy. After EC2 hyphen.
Yeah.
Something we should do. Okay. Service. And that is because I think one of the servers was newly created and it was not configured to be to connect permission denied. It was not configured completely like the others, right, Rahul? If I'm right, I think we created
Yeah.
one node.
Okay.
So we'll try to handle that one today. But before that one, just type in Python, get into the Python prompt. Type in Python. We're in 3.8 and let's say try running this one. Just type in import boto3 space boto. Oh no. In the
Okay. In Python. Okay. Both of three.
yeah. Import boto. Okay, and let's see. And you do have the ec2.ini in the same directory, right?
Yeah.
Say import OS. And say os.getCwd. Next, in the next line. In the next line, right?
Yeah.
It's CWD within brackets. Normal brackets. Okay. See what it gives, where it's pointing to. Enter, please. And that's where we have the ec2.ini, right?
Yeah.
Okay, in that case, let's see. We say boto.resource, and let's see. Let's copy this one. I'm going to send you something. Try running this one. Okay, try running this one. Boto 3 will not work. I think you need to change that to Boto. Bring that up, change that to Boto. Boto has no attribute. So let's say what we'll do. Boto 3, right? I'm just thinking if we need to do a pip install. Where is it? Python 3 pip. Okay, do we already have pip installed?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, try performing. So exclamation sudo in Python prompt you can do exclamation sudo pip install boto 3. Acha, it won't take that. So in other words, come out of Python, Control D. Now, what we'll do is run it as with a sudo space pip install boto 3. See if it does it. Okay, get back into Python. Or we'll take the shortcut. Sorry about that. Exit Python and say vi space, let's say dynamic.py space dynamic.py. And yeah, we'll start with the import Boto3. And I think let's put the first line as shebang. The first line is hash exclamation slash bin slash python slash python import Boto3, and then what we'll do, create the EC2. EC2 equals to Boto3.resource. In the next line,
Yeah.
EC2 equals to Boto3.resource, the one I copy pasted and sent to you in the chat window. And okay, now, so that should be the EC2 object. And what I would ideally like to do is a value, right? Oh, okay. Looks like I'll, okay. Give me one moment. Let me get this. Resource, right? So we'll also uncomment this one. I'm going to send you, add this function into that file on top of, in between import and this one. So here is the function. Try adding this file, adding this function between those two lines.
Yeah.
We'll copy this one and we'll say copy this one. And now what you do is remove that line EC2 equals to Boto3.resource. Delete that line. And let's say here's the rest of the file. Here's the rest of the file. Put below that. The one I sent you just now, put that as the second part of the file below the function. Tag is env. I think we're going to run into some issues, but let's give it a try. Comment app underscore. Okay, no, just run it. Save it first, write and quit. And now try running the file. Make sure you've given the mod permission, execute permission. +6. Okay. Then execute it. So /bin/env space python. Go back to the file. Okay, 24. This is Ansible, right? Let's say Control F. C2. Here is this one. Oh, have you got that? Shebang bin/bin/env space python. I'm sorry, 1/env space python. So you're leaving it to the environment and write and quit it. Head the ec2.py also, just to make sure. Do a head on ec2.py. Let's see. So that's how it is. 3.8. So you use that one. Yeah.
Okay.
So we are hard coding it here. Ideally, good practices we would we'll leave it to the environment, but for the sake of simplicity, we'll start here. Okay. Oops, sorry. It's catching the indentations, which means because we copy pasted it. So do you think you can get back into the file and just adjust the tabs properly, Rahul?
Yeah.
So wherever there's one tab or which line did it indicate? There was an error.
Just this one.
That's the line up. So in front, for print, give 2 tabs, and for host, give 1 tab. No, that should be. Do you have any text editor?
The notepad. I also have VF.
Oh, just open Notepad. Copy and paste that whole thing. Okay, now wherever I think instead of tabs, there are some spaces here. We just need to give 1 or 2 tabs for each line. So starting from the first line, second line. Okay, backspace it, do 1 tab like that. I think even if I do it, give me 1 moment, please. Let's see. Try this one. Paste it here. So let's see. Oops. Shift tab this. Shift tab and tab it. Shift tab and tab it. Shift tab and tab it. Print will be tab post is okay. Return. So from hosts and for each as well. So return this one. Okay. I'm sending it to you again. Try this one. Let's see. Say tab it. Okay. Copy this one back here. Pasting it in the chat window. Can you try copy pasting this and the whole thing?
Yeah.
This will install. Paste it here.
Yeah.
Save it and run it. Let's see, line 31 main, 23 main. What is there? It's unbound local variable error. Go back into the file, and I think we're looking at line 19 and 23. Line 19 and 23, unbound local host dot for each underscore in. That's a local variable, each input. Oh, oops. Just do escape slash set nu. Escape slash set nu. Oh no, escape colon set nu. Oh yeah, or escape colon nu. Okay. Let's give them, say escape colon, set a new. It'll give all the 9 numbers. Escape colon, set, buddy, set a new. Okay, let's see where is line 19. It's finding it. Acha. Host.append. Ah, okay. We need to give it a tab at host.append. That is in the scope of the for loop, I think. Okay, now each in is in a local scope. Okay, now try running it, please. Inconsistent. Okay, that must read up again. Let me do it at my end and send it to you one more time. Let's see host.append. Tab it, save it, and sending it to you again. Say copy. Paste. Okay. Empty that file and paste this into that. Except the first line, rest of it should be there. Yes.
Hello?
Yes, run it is.
Yeah. I'm taking some message. Yeah, taking that.
Sorry, Rahul. I was on mute and I was talking. Sorry. So what we're observing here is we are getting DB equals to empty list and app equals to empty list. Do you have any idea
Yeah.
what them? That's a slightly tough question, but can you take a guess?
Because
Okay. So ideally, what is happening?
there is no group.
Good.
Just Daisy.
As simple as that. So more precisely, when we use this is most of the times you may not need all the groups that the AWS is returning. You may need specific. Just do a cat on the dynamic.py. Cat space dynamic.py.
Yeah.
If you now look at it, notice what we are doing is we have explicitly given the group DB and app.
Yeah.
And we are looking into US East 1. Go back to the browser. In which region are we? We are in North Virginia. So we have to give the North Virginia region. And let's see, go back to instances. Yeah, instances. In the instances, these are all the names. Select the names, right? So these are all the, just edit one of them.
Edit.
Yeah, edit one of them. Let's see what it is. Click on that. So it says edit name. Okay, so that is generally the name here. If you go back to the terminal, If you go back to the terminal, let us see what we have is, you look at the function get underscore host. Name is tag colon env, values is that one. And can you try scrolling all the way up where we ran the dc2.py? The JSON output. So here are the things. So notice tag underscore name underscore n1 tag underscore or type underscore 2. So for tag underscore name underscore is there. So in our code, what we are doing is we are interested. Imagine we are interested in the tag underscore name n3 only. I don't want anything else. What we can do is that is what we are doing in the code. Here we have coded it to be DB and app or DB and web. Catching it.
Yes, yes.
So that is what the function of that script is. Time permits today, just play around a little bit. We're trying to modify that one. That script.
Okay.
That's going to be a slightly or maybe a very difficult task, but I just want you to play with it and get a feel of it. But
Okay. Okay.
okay. Okay. So that's all I wanted to show. So most of the times, probably you're interested in maybe one or two, or maybe two of the, I mean, a few groups, not all the groups. And then you want to do a ping. You have 10 web servers and 5 database servers. You don't want to ping all the databases. So using the AWS dynamic inventory, you're getting these 5 things dynamically, and then you're pinging them, getting the status, maybe copying a file, maybe other kinds of modules that we have seen. You're doing some of those things and things like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we'll go. Let's say. Just do LSLTR. And let's say ansible.config, head -15 ansible.config. Let's see where we are pointing to. Inventories.myhost. Okay, make a copy of my, just do a myhost underscore backup. Copy my host to maybe my host backup underscore backup. Okay, BKP is also fine, but okay. Okay, now cat my host. Let's see what we have. We have a local, we have a web, DB, and all servers. I think we were playing around with local. I remove the group local and its server. You remove IP also. Now add a group called data center, data underscore center. Data underscore center. And let's say now go back to the browser. Let's see what else we have. Let's say N1, N2, N3. In N2, do you know if you installed Python there? In N2 or N3? Look at N3. Click on N3, SSH into N3. Check if Python is there. Good. Black is good. You don't have to come out.
This is node 1. I need to first log in as a controller, then I can do it.
Yeah, so okay.
I can directly connect. Yeah, I'm okay.
Very good. Just type in Python. I don't think it is there. Python 3. Python 3 is automatically installed.
Yeah, on all the servers.
Gotcha. So this is the Ubuntu. So Python 3 is automatically installed. It was Python. Okay. We'll still give a try. Go back to the blue terminal. And in the data center, give that IP address of that one, that N3 that we just checked. Okay. Save it. Now we'll just ping Ansible data underscore center. Ansible space data underscore center. Module is ping. We're in controller node. Okay. So permission denied. That's because we don't have, we have not set up the public key and private key, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That is one thing. So we can, okay. Could you also try to test that with N2? And just check the IP address and give that IP address manually. Or you can, either way, whatever is comfortable. Give the IP address of N2 because everything is set up here. Okay, so Python is here, it's catching Python. Okay, I just wanted to know where the Python was not there, but it looks like everything else. Okay. Okay, you have already done the ping here, which is okay. And we have looked at shell and raw module. Okay. By default, they're giving this one. Okay, let me explain this one. Just in case we have any server where we do not have Python installed, Ansible needs, Ansible is directly working with the managed nodes where the Python is automatically installed. If Python is not installed on the managed nodes, then remember the modules will not work. The module shell, file, copy, all the modules we have been testing will not work. Are you catching that, Rahul?
Okay, yes.
The only module which will work is a raw module. Now, let's say, type in Ansible, bring up that command, the previous command, instead of module ping, use module shell and shell space -a arguments and space within double quotes give uptime. Uptime, run it. So we are getting the uptime and it's success, no error here, right?
Right.
But the shell is nothing but a Python, internally a Python module, which is being deployed in the machine and which is being run on that managed node. But in case we don't have Python installed on a managed node, then what do? We use a raw module. So bring up the previous command, change the shell to raw. The only Ansible, or in other words, raw module is what we need to keep in mind. Run it. Should get a similar output. As simple as that. That's as simple as that. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So now what we'll do, let's create, go ahead and create a new managed node in that one, backend browser with a new key pair. Don't use the same key pair, but create a new with a new key pair. And I think we were using Ubuntu. It's okay. Maybe, yeah, and we'll do a simple name.
Should I send
Yeah.
different keeper?
Yes, new key pair.
Yes.
Good. We'll give it a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, open a new terminal. Or you can go to the probably the black terminal. What do you have? Yeah, here. Over here, SSHI into that one. Oh, sorry, yeah. You need to. Okay. So you're in there and get into root. We'll repeat some of the process of adding the AND segment. I'll go ahead and add the user called AND segment, ANS segment. User add password AND segment. User add space AND segment. Then password PASSWD AND segment. No. I mean, you first complete that user add. Enter. Now you say password AND segment. And do you recall what was the password?
In AMS admin.
Sorry about that. So password is set, okay. We'll do a VI sudo. Sorry, VI sudo, one, no, not separate. VI sudo is we are changing sudoers. We'll put them into sudo. VI sudo is one word.
Okay.
And now, what do you do? Okay, root. Under the root, paste this one and segment. If you recall, let me put this here. Paste this one. You're saying we want to give access with no password or we don't want for this user to, we don't want to be given password. So under the root all, I put that no password, okay. And looks okay. Okay, write and quit or Control O will write it. File name to write, yeah, enter. And now I think Control X. Okay. And get back to the my host file. My host file. And add this IP. Under the group password no. Add a new group. We'll say password no. No password. Or say no password. No password. And put the IP address. Okay. Save it. And now let's do a ping onto that one. Ansible ping, which is Ansible, no underscore password. Yeah, instead of that one, give the group name. Okay, I think the first time we need to give yes. Okay, so now let's see, message failed to connect to the host, permanently added. And let's see, and segment permission denied, public key. So in other words, we have not set up the public key and the private key.
Yes.
Which we did not, which we didn't want to also. That is what is objective. Without a private key and public key, we're going to be pinging this one, is what it is. So now, we also need another setting, if you recall, or do a vi etc /etc /ssh /etc /sshd underscore config. SSHD underscore config. SSHD underscore config. No, not that one, buddy. SSHD underscore config. There is just underscore config.
HD underscore config.
Yeah, run it. SSHD, yeah. Now search for password authentication, capital P. Password. Now it's out. How come it is automatically set to yes? We're in the right one, right?
Yeah, we have set maybe.
No. This is I think you're in the. Is this the one that we just created?
No. This is a controller.
No, nobody. You need to go back to the one we just created.
Okay.
This one, sorry. etc/ssh /sshd underscore config. And now search for password, capital P. By default, these are set to no. So change that to yes. Okay, write and quit. And then have you no, write and quit. You quit that.
Yeah. I have done. Yes.
Change it. You written it?
Yes.
Okay, you want to just do a cat on that and just make sure it's there. Cat on that, grep on that.
Yeah.
Set yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So now restart. Let's say service restart. I'm sorry, service SSHD restart. Okay. Okay, now try to ping that group. The same thing. Try pinging it and still no password.
Yes.
Okay, to connect to the host. This time permission denied. We are again getting the permission. Failed to connect to the host. We have not yet exchanged the key, which is a good one, which is right one. Okay, so now what you do, bring up the same command at the end of ping. At the end of ping, say space -k. Yeah. Enter.
Which password?
It's asking password right away. Okay. What is the password you have given?
We haven't said for user.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. ANS admin.
Whoa. What do you do, buddy? From the controller, you're pinging it, which is okay. But have you restarted the service in the other? No.
Yeah, I have restarted.
Okay, that's what I. Yeah. So you're good there. You have restarted the SSHD there, and you're running it from the controller, which is okay.
Yeah.
This one for 145, whatever you have given the password, give it there for answer.
Yeah. To the ANS admin.
Okay, run it please. And now you must install the SSH pass. Giving a different one here today. Sorry, let me see. To use SSH connection type. So in other words, let me see. Hyphen. You've given K. Okay, why don't you give -K space -B also? Space -B. Not right?
Same.
Connection type, you must install SSH pass. Okay. We're trying to ping it and we're not able to get that right. Okay, so actually, SSH pass, it should actually allow us to, and SSH password. SSH password. You have entered the right password, right?
Yes.
Connection type. The passwords, you must install SSH pass program to use SSH connection type. The objective is what we are trying to achieve. Rahul, I'll give you an idea. Without really configuring the public key and the private key handshake, by just giving the password, by entering, you sometimes or many times we may require some users whom we don't want SSH. We want them to manually, our hands, we would like them, we set up server, we don't want to use the private and the public key, but this is only for certain scenarios where we want the users to enter, a particular user to enter the password, when he runs the Ansible command. Catching it? The password is limited to that department or that team. In such a case, you do not SSH, you set up the SSH key, but without, by entering the password.
Okay.
You force them to enter the password. The -K is ideally forcing you to enter the password. But I think maybe another configuration, maybe I need to go back and review, is missing. But that is what is the idea and the goal here. Are you catching it?
Yes.
Okay. How about others, guys? Are you catching the point? Can you give me a quick yes, please? I think if you just have a high-level idea of this one, that is good enough. We'll try to see if I can go back and find out where I missed anything. How about others? Humera, Shraddha, Nitish, are you getting an idea? So sometimes, in other words, one more time I'm repeating it. Sometimes you don't want to set up the SSH key because a lot of things can go on. You want them to manually enter a password. This may be a one-time thing and maybe a two-time thing. So instead of setting up the SSH key, you're manually forcing them. Once they're done with that, you might delete that user, or you might stop that and things like that is what you do. To ensure that one, we also take this path is what it is. Maybe for a day or two, we would like to go ahead and do that kind of thing, guys. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Default users and different users. Okay, there are a few scenarios. I think these scenarios will take some. I think if I start, will probably take some time. Let me save this for tomorrow. Rahul, any questions, guys, for today? Any other questions, Rahul, from you?
No.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll continue the journey of Dockers and containers for the next 2 or 3 days, and we'll go into a slightly more deeper, more scenarios, and I think those will be very, very helpful for you. And we'll touch a little bit of Ansible on a daily basis, a bit of it, guys. Okay, bit more advanced.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
If you don't have any questions for today, we'll sign off, and we'll continue the journey tomorrow, guys. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you all. You guys take care, stay safe, keep learning, guys. Thank you and bye for now. Thank you again.
Thank you.